I'm Van Sebastian here with my co-host S.A. Baz Collins, bringing you this week's Written on the Edge Season 11, Episode 17 interview. We're joined by Ron Naples to discuss his memoirs, My Last Dance with Auntie Brie, 1 and 2. So let's get to know our guest. Ron Naples is a native of Connecticut. He has lived in the San Francisco Bay Area with his partner Joe for the past 40 years. In the 70s, he
Woo!
was a percussion major at Berklee College of Music in Boston. In the 80s, he earned his degree in interior design from CCC in San Pablo, California. In later years, he became certified in massage therapy from NHI in Emeryville, California, which he continues to practice this day. Ron, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. So that's a path, and writing is not in that path. So what was the spark about to pick up a pen and tell your story?
Right. So I started a diary in Provincetown and as far back as 1982.
Wow.
And through the years, I picked it up and I thought this is going to make a great book someday. But I was intimidated. I'm like, I'm not a writer. It also takes a lot of time to commit to do it. So
Hmm.
then I put it away. And then a few years later, I take it out. Well, here we are, fast forward almost 40 years later, and I
Oh,
finally did it. And it was such a success, I wrote the sequel. So,
nice.
and the sequel went a little smoother because I was more confident at writing. In the beginning, you're all over the place. So,
Right, right.
yeah, yeah,
Well, I also think that, when you're talking about like the earlier parts of your life, you're also telling a lot of backstory. And even for fictional writers, backstory always haunts us. How much do we give? How much do we let the readers figure out? So I think it probably would be smoother when you get to the later years because it's more fresh. It doesn't seem quite so backstory kind of thing.
exactly. Yeah, I had forgotten a lot. Even the stuff I wrote down, I had no recollection of it. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. Did this actually happen? Well, it must have happened. I wrote about it. So there you go. And of course, every time I went through it, I kept embellishing it more and more and more. And it got pretty crazy. So I thought, wow, this is going to be entertaining. Um,
Love it.
and and from the 30 plus reviews, I guess it is. So it's all good.
Love it. So let's dive into the title character. Who was Auntie Brie?
Wow. Okay, there's a lot to say about her, so I'll give you
And
the
does she know?
thumbnail.
And does she
Yeah,
know our
She made
patron
it through
saint?
the title, I assume
yes.
so.
I'll give you the thumbnail version. The first gay bar I ever went to was in Hartford, Connecticut, and she was a drag queen there, and I was absolutely mesmerized. I thought, wow, who is this? Later on, as I say in my book, I became part of her cabaret act. And she really shaped my whole gay destiny, if you will. Um, Unfortunately, she's not here today. My fantasy would be that she'd be able to get to read the book. But what's cool about it is people that knew her are contacting me. And I actually had a drag queen that she worked with 40 years ago find my book on Amazon and call me. I was just floored. I was like, oh my God, I thought you were dead, you know? But she's still
Which is
here.
what every drag queen wants to hear.
Right, right. She's still here and she's still performing, which is even crazier. So I threatened one day to go to New York City and see her. So,
Love
but
that.
anyway, so it's cool because people from the deep dark past creep up, and they're all applauding my effort. They're just like, "Oh my God, you really nailed it!" And so it's pretty cool, very
That's
cool.
that's amazing.
Yeah. Hmm.
So so let's go into what book one covers.
Okay.
Th-
Book
s-
one is my coming out.
okay.
I was born and raised in New Britain, Connecticut, in a very Catholic Italian household.
Ooh.
And yeah, it was really difficult to sneak out the back door and go to the gay bar. Um, so it's my journey of discovering gay life and trying to get comfortable with it. And of course, all the stuff that happens along the way, the crazy people I meet, the good things, the bad things. And yeah, and the second book brings us all the way to San Francisco, which is where I am now. So
Nice.
there you go.
So the calendar period of book one is mostly 70s, 70s into
Late
80s.
70s, early 80s.
Okay,
Yes. And this is all pre-AIDS.
right.
So yeah, it's in retrospect, it's just like, my God, I could not possibly live that. In fact, nobody could possibly live that way now.
No.
So yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I was very lucky.
those are the years of legend.
Yeah, yeah. And as I say in my product description, it's legendary. Definitely, definitely.
And
Um,
I think the other thing is too, because you did the gay bars back when you wrote this first part of the two books. Was it? How did you find it in comparison to your life in San Francisco? I lived in San Francisco for a good many years. I'm only back down in San Diego because my sister needs help with our aging mother. But I miss the Bay Area so much. It's just that's home to me.
yeah,
But I always was amazed at how the nightclub and bar life is in San Francisco. It's commiserate with how everything is packed onto that
right,
peninsula. And
right.
people think, you go to dance clubs, they're huge or like Studio 54, No, in San Francisco, they're like long and narrow for the most part, or they're, this way, So I just kind of want to know what was your impression when you moved from the East Coast to the West and then dealt with the nightlife there. Is that covered in the book? And what were your impressions? And do you recall those impressions, or was it because it was written and you went, "Oh, I guess I did feel that way"?
Well, there was really quite a difference. On the East Coast, of course, I was brand new to gay life. When I felt as though I arrived, I thought, okay, now I can go to San Francisco. Um,
Interesting.
so yeah, I was lucky enough to be in San Francisco, what I feel in its prime. Unfortunately, ever since COVID, it's just not the same.
No, it's not.
Castro is, I don't want to say this, but pretty sad.
Yeah, it's a ghost of
Um,
its former self. Yeah.
yeah, it's not, it is a shadow of it what once was. I feel as though the younger generation never experienced what I experienced,
Mhm.
so they don't know any better.
Right.
But if I go there, it's just, there's still restaurants that have closed, that never opened, bars that have changed ownership, the gift shops, the clothing boutiques, all that stuff. It's gone.
Yeah,
Um,
I lamented when the patio disappeared. I was like,
right.
that
Yeah.
was such a fabulous place to go to, you
And there
know.
were fabulous places to go
Yeah,
to.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I think it's trying to come back. But yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Unfortunately. A side note, I actually came to see a friend in San Francisco in the 80s and I never went back. Um, I was so enamored with it. I just thought, okay, this is the place I need to be.
Well,
So
the Anna Madrigal line, that you're called there,
right.
and when
Yeah,
you get there, understand why you were called there, even though
right.
you months before you never even had a clue it was coming, and
Exactly.
that's literally when she says that in Tales of the City. I'm like, girl, I got you. I understand exactly what you're saying there.
Right. It's as they say, I found my tribe at
Right.
last.
It's
At
literally
last.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And they'll have that whole community. It was wonderful. The pre-show to that was Provincetown, and
I
that
was
was the
going to ask
first
about that.
environment I was ever in where it was, all gay.
Yep.
So I was like, this is definitely where I need to be. And as I said, coming from a Catholic Italian household, black and white, So yeah,
Oh yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, and jumping out the back window in them hills is not an easy task.
Exactly, exactly.
I mean, I'm a Wisconsin raised boy, and I first saw Provincetown in the mid 90s, the summer after college.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was blown away. I
Yeah,
had never imagined a place could be so free and open. I mean, even in the
yeah,
90s.
yeah. Well, the last time I was there was in 2015, and unfortunately, I was comparing it to the 80s, and
Right,
it's no, no. It's very commercial now, of course, as everything is.
right.
And but still, it holds a place in my heart. When I'm there and I'm walking down Commercial Street, I'm thinking, oh my God. I remember when I used to do this when I was young, when I was a houseboy. It's all good. So yeah, Provincetown, I noticed in later on when you were going to ask about places that feel like home,
Hmm.
Provincetown. Yeah, that's it right there.
Nice. So you are very lucky in
Yeah,
this project in that you kept journals
yes,
because writing about history, especially capturing a piece of history that everybody thinks they know about, everybody
right,
has seen movie images of, so they think they got it. That's important that you are presenting a firsthand view.
right.
And
Um, yeah, it was important to me to not only tell my story, but to get all the facts right.
mhm.
And that was the hardest part. I did extensive research and I actually had people help me remember the addresses of the places. Do they still exist? Yeah, it was the hardest part to get all the details right. And one of the best compliments I get is people forgot. They're just like, oh my God, I forgot all about that bar. Oh my God, it was wonderful. And you captured it so beautifully. Oh, so so it's great. I mean, all the big stuff is in there, like Studio 54 and Trocadero Transfer from San Francisco, but it's nice to talk about all those little niches that,
Yeah,
people
absolutely.
forgot about.
Hmm.
And to me, that was really the essence of the whole gay life at that time, is going to places nobody heard about.
Right.
Right, right.
So yeah,
So,
and getting involved with people that no one ever heard about. So
so here's
Now,
here's a question. Hold on. Here's a question I have in
okay,
mind. Your husband or your
yes,
partner,
yes.
when have they read any part of it, and did any part of it shock them about you before you and he were a thing?
Well, he knows me pretty well.
Oh, okay.
He read the first book and he enjoyed it. The second book he actually helped me write because he's in it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And it was
Okay.
really a very interesting process because he remembered things that I forgot. And we were there together, and I would make notes, thinking, "Oh my God, how did you remember that? I forgot all about that." Um, so yeah, he was instrumental in helping me fill in the gaps, if you will. And I'm very proud to share the second book because we've been through so much together. Oh my
oh,
God.
mhm.
So people need to know, and they do. And I guess the first book honors Auntie Brie. The second book honors Joe, my partner. So there
That's
you go.
beautiful.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Van. Sorry, Vance. I
Yeah.
just wanted to get that out because
All right.
I knew we had to see what the because Vance and I off throughout the years have talked about the price our partners pay for all the stuff that we're
Oh,
doing.
yeah.
And so I always like when we have a situation like this, I always like to get the partner's response to what you're,
Right.
things
Well,
that you do like that.
yeah, thank you for asking. And also, he was a San Quentin prison guard. So,
Well, you got to
yeah,
include that.
yeah, well, of course. So that's in the book too. And of course, I don't know anything about that, but he knew everything because he was there.
Right.
Hmm.
So he helped me with those chapters, and they're terrific chapters. They're pretty amazing.
I love it.
The fact that he has a firsthand view of what it was like working there and
Right.
at that time, and he knows all the legends, Charles Manson and Ted Bundy and all that stuff. I mean, can you imagine? It's pretty
It's
powerful
wild.
stuff.
It's wild.
That's
Yeah,
wild.
yeah.
A-
So,
And a far cry from Circuit Party Houseboy.
right. Right. So talk okay, so talk about evolution, right?
Yes.
So yeah, Joe straightened me out, if you will. Um I feel as though if I hadn't met him, I wouldn't be here.
So from
Mm.
house boy to house husband. Got
There you go.
it.
Yes,
you,
totally.
you leveled up. That's what it
Yes.
was.
Yeah. Uh sadly in the 80s I lost all my friends to AIDS
Hmm.
and I was doing what they were doing. So I feel if Joe wasn't here to pull me away from that kind of lifestyle, like I said, I would no longer be here. So,
Hmm.
and this is the very mature me speaking because I was, very angry for a very long time. I want to go out. I want to do this. I want to do that. and he was always a homebody. He was, first of all, much older than I am too, so he was mature about,
Mm,
let's get real about this.
right.
You can't do what you used to do. You can't. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys have been
so
together 40 years?
it'll be 40 years. I actually lose track of it.
That's
So
okay. He's around to remind you.
yeah, no, well, I met him in 1982, so do the math. So it's
Oh,
40, 44, 43,
44. Yeah,
yeah.
44.
44. Oh my God, that's crazy.
That's
So,
amazing. But I can see at that time period of what was going on in the 80s, how he shepherded you through that.
yeah, definitely. And he partook in it too.
Well, sure.
And unfortunately, as AIDS progressed, it just got to the point where we didn't want to go out anymore. I mean, you'd go out and you'd hear about somebody died, or
Hmm.
there was a funeral, or someone's in the hospital. I mean, no, it wasn't the gay party that it once was. So you sober up. There you go. You sober up, and yeah, there you
By
go.
by 1990, I had stopped going out to party and instead had joined an AIDS support group and was going into homes helping people.
See,
It's exactly what you're saying. I sobered up, got smart, and just moved my attention to helping the community instead of partying with it.
right, right. Is that so? It's definitely a progression of maturity, and
Hmm.
um, yeah. I wanted to say that I got into massage therapy, and one of the first jobs I ever had was working in an AIDS ward. So boy, if that doesn't put a perspective on life,
Yeah.
so yeah, you want to reach out. You want to reach out and you want to help your sister friends because, it's unfortunately not all about partying.
Right. Right.
And when you're young and gay, that's what you do. So,
So I want to wrap up the talk about your two books by asking if there are lessons Auntie Brie taught you that have carried you through life.
lessons. Lessons that we haven't already talked about.
Yeah.
Um, well, to just honor the past and to be grateful of what you have, instead of complaining about what you don't have,
Hmm.
because that's easy to do. Why? So yeah, I think writing the book was very methodical for me. It was very healing for me.
Yeah, I was going to say it had to be cathartic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think not, no, I don't think, I know it was one of the reasons why I got into massage therapy, because a little bit of backstory, I was in a terrible car accident, and I had whiplash, and I went through physical therapy and doctors and pills, but it was the massage therapy that turned me on because it was the only time I felt good. And I thought, I need to learn this and give this to other people. And then, like I said, what better to give than to give to the gay people?
Right.
So, not that I'm a saint, but
No, no, but I think it's important that we should be, by example, showing to our younger queer brothers, sisters, and NBs out there that, we need to take care of each other because
yes,
ain't nobody out there going to do it for us.
right.
And I always tell the young when I see them being catty, it's like, you know what? Save your shade for those who are against us. Be kind to one another,
Right.
and because we've got so much going against us, especially now with this administration,
Oh
that,
my God.
that whatever we can do to pamper ourselves amongst ourselves,
Right.
child, sign me up.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And homophobia is still alive and well.
Oh,
Hmm.
coming
It's
back.
it's crazy. It's just, oh God, it's stuff we fought through it for so long, and with gay marriages and everything, you thought we would have arrived, but in a lot of ways, it's gone backwards.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
it's
I saw a very good report on the fact that it never went away. It was hidden because people felt like it was shameful to be haters. But
right.
our
And
current
we've lost the
administration,
ability to shame.
yeah, but our current administration has made it very, very popular to be a bigot and a bully and a hater
Hmm.
Oh, wow. So
because
awful.
they've made it acceptable
Yep.
where we had proven that it was socially unacceptable for the longest time.
Right, right. So,
So we need to let folks know that both
Okay.
of your books are available everywhere, including audio on Google Play, right?
Yes, and let me talk a little bit about that experience.
Yes.
Um, okay, writing was hard enough. And I thought, okay, audio, this is going to be cool. Well, it's AI narrated,
Mhm.
and when I got it back,
You're
it
speaking
was
to a real narrator here.
when I got it back, it was full of mistakes. I thought, oh my God. I had to go back and spell out words phonetically
Mm.
because, it wouldn't be able to pronounce the words correctly. And the dialogue was a mess because it kept saying, he said, she said, he said, she said, and you're thinking, people are going to listen to this and they're just going to zone out. Like, I can't get through with this. I can't get through this. Forget it. So I literally had to go back and rewrite the book for the audio version.
You had to create a script for it, is
Yeah,
what you had to
yeah.
do.
So kind of like a screenplay, if you
Hmm.
will.
Hmm.
So I wasn't prepared for all that work, but I'm proud to say it's done. So you can get both books that have both been rewritten for audio on Google Play. So it's a good thing.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is there anything about either book you want folks to know that we didn't think to ask?
Well, I want to tell you that if you're ever thinking of writing a book, be prepared for the most work you've ever done. Oh my God. I worked with several editors who wanted to change everything.
Mhm.
When I thought I had the book complete and I started sending it out to publishers with a cover letter and synopsis, and I was rejected all the time. Or they'd come back and say they wanted to publish the book, but they wanted to publish it their way. So I'm like, well, what exactly does that mean? Take all the sex out, add more sex, get rid of the sex, embellish the sex. I'm like, no, can we just do it the way we want to do it? And then you find out they're not interested because they want ownership and they want the final say on what they put out there.
Mhm.
So that's when I decided I'll publish it myself, and I did. And I'm pretty proud of what's out there. And I also want to say there's a little bit of a side note here. It was first published as an ebook, and the whole ebook experience was kind of freaky to me because I don't own a Kindle, and I was just, well, this is no. But the ebook was the launch to get the paperback, and the
Nice.
paperback was the launch to get the hardcover.
Perfect.
So again, it's not one size fits all. You don't just write a book and publish it and it goes across the board.
Right.
Yeah, you have to really be diligent in your efforts to make it fit whatever mold you want it to fit. So we have the ebook, the paperback, the hardcover, the audiobook, one, and we have the ebook, paperback, hardcover, audiobook, two. That's 8 books.
Yep.
So when you ask me if I'm going to write another one, not for a very long time. Yeah, a lot of work.
I don't know though. You've already got the title.
Yeah,
Houseboy to house husband.
yeah. Well, unfortunately, Auntie Brie is no longer here, and she was a big part of my journey.
Right.
I do, it is an homage to her. And you find out, unfortunately, what happened to her in the second book. But yeah, my young gay life in its prime, almost up to the present. So that's pretty much, I'm done.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. Are you ready for our get to know you questions?
Okay, here we go.
Take it away, Baz.
All right, before we get to that, just a real quick note to say if you like what we're doing here and you like discovering new queer media by queer talent and our allies, please take a moment to like, subscribe to all the things that the algorithm asks of us because it helps get our interviews like this out into the public sphere and helps our creators find their audience. In addition, you can support us financially by going to patreon.com/rope podcast or going to buymeacoffee.com/rope podcast, and where you can make a one-time donation as opposed to the Patreon monthly. Or you can do it very inexpensively by going to uh, our YouTube channel and actually joining membership for 99 cents a month. and I'm going to be putting out what I'm calling curation for this generation. And it's going to be my media coverage. It's going to go up exclusively on the YouTube membership platform only, where I will be covering musicians that inspired me throughout my years coming up in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and so forth. And also the movies that I've always loved from my perspective and why I like them so much. So, I have a ton of queer media. I'm a very, very solid media whore. So trust me, I've got a lot to talk about out there, but I'm going to put it only on the membership platform on YouTube. So if you're interested in any of that, definitely check that out. And again, it's 99 cents a month, less than a buck. We know times are tough. We want to make it easy for everybody, but every little bit helps, and it helps us keep the lights on and getting to know our guests a little bit better. So, with all of that out of the way, let's get into the weeds. What book, film, or piece of art has had the biggest influence on your writing style?
Well, I'm going to say I read a lot of celebrity memoirs. And there's no one author in particular, but I wanted to learn how it's done. Being that I wasn't a professional writer, I thought, well, let me see how people are crafting their books to write a memoir. Um, in the end, I think mine is better than a lot I've read, um, because there is a way to do it without making it boring. To tell your story with lots of flashbacks. People love flashbacks, and not necessarily tell it chronologically, but tell the story, and as you're writing the story, embellish what you need to embellish and go back to what you need to re-explain to make it entertaining. And yeah,
Did you
so
did you ever read Rosalind Russell's biography, the one right
I
behind
see
Banks?
the thing up there. No, I love the movie though. It's
Yeah,
it's one
trust
of my
me,
all-time favorites.
trust me, you need to read that biography. Her
Yeah,
autobiography is one of the best. That's why I sent it to Vance, and that's why
nice.
she's the patron saint of our podcast. But yeah, she exactly when you're describing your book, I
Yeah,
kept thinking of hers.
right.
So trust me, it's right up your alley. You should definitely check
Fun.
it out.
Let me share with you, I just read Tallulah Bankhead, A Scandalous Life.
Oh, that's a
And
good one.
boy, what a kick that
That's a good
was.
one. Yeah. Ruth Gordon's is another one that's really, really good like that. Ruth Gordon was brilliant. All right. What fictional or historical character would you invite to march with you at a pride parade?
Well, I would want to march with Auntie Brie, of course.
Of course.
But being that she's no longer with us, it would have to be a disco icon. I'm thinking Donna Summer or Grace Jones or the Village People.
Nice.
Somebody that captures the element of what it was like
The Village
then.
People sans Victor Willis.
There, there we go. I can easily see me, marching with festive people like that.
There you go.
Definitely. Yeah.
Definitely,
I mean,
definitely.
these are the disco icons that shaped my whole life,
Right.
really.
Right.
So
Exactly. Exactly. All right.
um
Well, if you or someone within the book of the memoir that you wrote had to survive a gay bar karaoke night, what song would you or they belt out?
oh Lord have mercy. It would have to be something by Sylvester or
Oh, well, there you go.
yeah, or Patrick Colley.
Hmm.
I don't,
Hmm.
are you aware of who Patrick
Oh,
Colley is?
I was a DJ in the late 70s through the 80s. I have over 10,000 12-inch records. Yes.
Okay. So there, to me, the Patrick Colley was the sound of San Francisco.
Yes.
When I
The
arrived,
whole Menergy line.
yeah, you couldn't get away from it.
Uh-huh.
It
Uh-huh.
was just amazing music. And sadly, we lost him to AIDS as well,
Yeah.
Sylvester and Patrick Colley. But yeah, so I would say, in fact, I asked Joe about that, and he agreed. He said that was the soundtrack to our lives.
Yep.
Definitely,
Yep. Yep.
definitely.
You make me feel mighty real. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. What's a place, real or imagined, that feels like home to you and why? I think we already have that answer.
Yeah, Provincetown and
Any particular era?
well, of course, when I was there, when I was a houseboy when I arrived. So
So the
yes,
houseboy years.
the houseboy years, yeah, which are completely explained in the book.
Okay.
The evolution of a houseboy, really.
There you
Um,
go.
yeah, I mean, the time capsule in Provincetown is I started as a houseboy and I ended up as a drummer in Auntie Brie's cabaret. I don't remember if we've already spoke about this, but I went to Berklee College of Music, and who would have thunk, that I'd end up playing drums with a drag queen in Provincetown. But it was the most fun and the most money I ever made. I
Well,
mean,
there you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then a little bit further along, this is like a Hollywood story. There was someone in the audience that just thought Auntie Brie's show was the best thing he ever saw, which it was. And he invited her to Finocchio's in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And Finocchio's was a legendary drag
Mm-hmm.
bar. Well, not
Mm-hmm.
drag bar.
It was more of a like a cantina or
Well,
no,
they
not
did
even
drag
that.
shows.
Yeah, I did drag shows. Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah,
you had like little tables, cocktail tables,
right,
and yeah, yeah.
right. And I mean, this was a time when they were impersonating. They weren't, lip syncing to records.
Right, right.
And yeah, and so I want to say also that Auntie Brie did her character. She did Betty Davis, and it wasn't lip syncing to something that you see on RuPaul now, but so she was a performer, or a real artist. So the agent convinced her to go to Finocchio's, and she took me with her.
Well, excellent. I love that.
So that was my introductory to San Francisco. So
Love that. Love that.
yeah.
Okay. Well, what's the strangest or most unexpected place you've ever found inspiration for a work of yours?
Well, I actually read that question before this interview when I was trying to come up with something wild. And I thought of the meat rack in Provincetown. There were
You
benches
mean
outside.
church?
There were benches outside of Town Hall on Commercial Street, and late at night, it was the cruise area.
Right.
All the bars would be closed by that point, and people would go sit on the bench and,
You
cruise
went to
each other.
church.
Yeah. Cruise each other walking by and then go off into the bushes and do the wild thing.
And
Um,
worship.
yeah. So that was pretty wild. And also the dunes at the beach, the sand dunes at the
Mm-hmm.
beach. There was a lot of promiscuous activity going on. I talk about all this in the book. And yeah, these are the moments of the diary where I'm like, I've got to get this in print. No one's going to believe this. This is just better than any porno I've ever seen.
Well, yeah.
So, and again, I was lucky because this is all before AIDS,
Yep.
right? I mean, the only
Mm-hmm.
thing I ever worried about was, STDs, gonorrhea, syphilis, whatever, but that could be cured.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it wasn't the
It
tragedy
was,
that,
yeah, it wasn't the Russian roulette that it became. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So there you go. So the sand dunes and the meat rack
Okay.
and inspired me to get the book out there.
Okay.
And
Well,
I'm having people read it that are like, what? Because they've never heard of such a thing.
Mhm.
Was that true, or did you make that up? And I'm like, no, it was true. No,
right,
it was.
right, right. Well, finally, what's the piece of LGBTQ plus culture, music, film, art, or history that never fails to inspire you?
I am wowed by today's generation. Every time I go out, they're so loud and proud. And I think, wow, I've never been that way. I never was that way. But it's just part of their person, they're so yeah, loud and proud, and there you go. Taking their boyfriends to the senior prom. I mean,
Yeah.
hello.
Mhm, yeah.
When I was a senior, I was still very much in the closet. That thought would never occur to me.
Mhm.
But
And
yeah,
how many of us convinced ourselves that it wasn't important to go to the prom because that's things straight people did.
right, exactly.
Yeah, you just,
Or you
Yeah.
fake it and you bring a gal pal, which is what I did.
yeah,
And those are very painful memories.
Yep.
yeah.
Um, but today, like I said, they're just like,
We had a
no
guest.
reservations at all. This is my boyfriend, you know. I'm
We had a
like, okay,
guest about 4 years ago who described like the switchover point as Glee. He's like, there were the pre-Glee years, which is us, and there were
yeah,
the post-Glee years where that's just who they are, and they live in a world where they just get to be that.
yeah,
And
Then there
yeah.
was me. There was me in the '80s going full Boy George 24/7 out
Uh,
in the sunlight with 5-inch heels
okay.
in San Diego, no less,
Well, there you
near
go.
the base, the naval base, because
My goodness.
one of the clubs was not too far along.
No, I did drag, but only on Halloween.
No,
And drag on Halloween in the Castro is legendary. I mean,
yes, yes,
my God, the outfits are unbelievable what these
unreal.
queens
Yeah.
come up with. You know, you're just
mhm.
like, holy cow. I have one recollection of someone that had an actual 6 foot high wig, you know,
Full on
just
Marge
parading down
Simpson.
the
Yeah, right.
street, you know, la 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 la, with this 6 foot beehive.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's fun. So,
All right. Well, you
So,
finally made it through our list. Bravo.
yay.
so you've hinted that there's not going to be another book in your future. Is that true?
Well, I'm not going to
I
hold
was gonna say,
myself to saying there's not going to be.
Maybe you need
Um,
to create some Auntie Breeze like adventures that aren't in the books, but just things you've kind of take her
well,
character and run with it.
yeah, I thought of like a supplement, like all the stuff that isn't in the book. I mean, I've got enough material to do that. I've also entertained writing a book about massage, which would be a departure from all this glorified gay life stuff. Um, yeah, but it's like I said, time and patience, commitment.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Well,
this is what I've learned. It's like, holy cow, the hardest thing I've ever done by
the
far. Yeah, it took years. I mean, the first book took a lifetime to write
mhm,
when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the second book I wrote mostly during COVID because I was on lockdown. I mean, there was nothing else to do.
Right.
right.
But I treated it like a job. I would literally write 8 hours every day, and then go back and hate everything I wrote and start over. So,
Fair.
so that's it. And when you start working with, editors, it gets even crazier
It
because,
does.
they're in their own heads and they're like, take this out, put this in, and you're like, oh, God, let me just do it myself. Okay. And when it's
Fair.
done, I'll give you a call. And they're great for grammar and, crafting and all that stuff. But when it comes to
Especially if you're doing a fictional piece,
right, right. But I think it's good just to get it all out there and then of course go back and fix it.
right.
But it's important not to go back and fix it while you're writing it,
Yeah.
which
And
is
you have to think, for queer people, a lot of what we did was punk style writing in that we typed it up, we mimeographed it, which really dates us,
uh,
and then we would send it out in the mail form to our readers, or so we did it punk journalistic style. That was how we got our word out to people in our community way
right,
back in the day. So you're kind of like carrying the same torch forward when you think about it. It's the same kind of concept. It's like, I need to say it in my voice the way that I need to tell it because it's the way that I see it, which is exactly what our ancestors did back in the 50s when they were first starting the Daughters of Bilitis and the Mattachine Society and all that stuff. They would write their little short stories and stuff and put them in there. And it was just, those weren't highly edited, but it was a way to get our stories out. And that's the important part.
right, right. Yeah. I also might have said um, I was in the very beginning, it was porno. As I evolved, it became literature. So how
Nice.
about that?
No, there
So
you
that
go.
was a huge thing too, because I realized, more people would be interested in reading a literary piece than just hot sex on every page. I mean, there's an audience for hot sex on every page, but I guess that's not the path I wanted to go down.
Right, right.
Right.
So it got to the sexy part, and you just went, stick it in.
Yeah.
I'm glad you told your story your way because that
Yeah.
history, the history that you've captured and recorded is so important that we
It
preserve.
is. It is. And I was really adamant about making it not sound like a documentary because when I get into the second book and talk about AIDS and
Hmm.
oh my God, it started to get very documentary-ish.
Right. And it's
And
hard.
I thought we need to keep it light. I mean, we need to tell the story, but we don't, we don't want to make it dark.
Yeah. And it's
I've
and it's an
actually,
art to find that balance.
it is. And I've actually gotten fan mail, if you will, from people that say they won't read the second book because they don't want to read about AIDS. And
Oh,
I'm like, well, it's in the 80s. I can't not talk about it.
Right, right.
So, give it a try because there were a lot of good things going on as well. It
yeah.
wasn't all dark and gloomy. So,
Right.
give
And
it a shot.
another thing you can tell people who say that is that was also a point in our community's history where we really came together.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like that is one of the best reasons to read a story about the AIDS era is how we came together as a community and as friends and family. Close
Right.
and family, but family.
Right. Right.
Um,
And the fact that if that did not happen, I mean, think about it, the whole world would be different.
oh yeah.
It's just, yeah, it shaped, unfortunately, the future of gay life, but we overcame, or I should say, we're overcoming,
Yes.
right? We
Yes.
haven't,
Still, the work is still being done. The
Yeah.
needle
yeah,
hasn't moved that far.
right, right. But
Well,
now
so
with all the stuff that's out there too, prep and, you know, um, my younger audience filled me in on, didn't you take any drugs? I mean, weren't you, when you were playing?
they didn't
And I'm thinking there
exist.
were no drugs, It's like you have to make them understand that HIV wasn't present then.
Right.
So it's a trip because I think, oh boy. But most my readership is older men.
Right.
Older men. Yeah, because
Well,
they were there.
They were
and
there.
speaking of that fan mail, which website or social media site do you use for people to contact you, get in touch with you, let you know what they thought, or ask questions?
Well, all my social links are on my webpage. I would say Facebook has been by far the most active in getting in touch with me. People posting what they thought of the book.
Hmm.
So yeah, everything's on the website.
Perfect. So
Yeah,
folks can go to mylastdancewithauntieBrie.net, get all those links,
yeah,
reach out to Ron,
yeah.
let him know what you thought as you read through our history.
And give the
Right.
second book a shot.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
also there's quite a few YouTube snippets promoting the book, but there's two big videos, one of pictures of the first book and one of pictures of the second book.
Hmm.
And yes,
Nice.
watch them, learn from them.
What you know? What we'll
Yes.
get those links from Vance, and I'll make sure they're in the description of this episode so people can find it.
Yep.
Great, great.
All right, Ron, do you have any final words of wisdom?
Any final words of wisdom?
Yeah, as we wrap up our interview today, what wisdom do you want to
He's
leave
all,
with
wait, I got
people?
to be smart too.
Yeah, exactly. I'm kind of like looking over my little notes here to see if there's anything I need to tell you or that I want to tell you. Not really. I think we covered mostly everything.
Okay.
Um, I regret that I don't have more pictures of what was happening. Um, of course, back then there were no cell phones. There was no internet.
Yeah, so the kids are going, but you had a phone.
Um, there's a picture in the book of Auntie Brie that was actually taken with a pocket Instamatic and a flash bulb. How old am I?
Right, right.
Um, but yeah, a lot of people were asking for more pictures. In fact, before the hardcover was published, they said it would be nice if you'd add pictures throughout the book, and I said I don't have any. So, so we did our very best with taking, as I said, awful blurred photos and trying to fix them up so that you can see who it was that I'm talking about. And I found a lot of like logos of bars from the past to, fill in, and pictures of places that are still there, that look nothing like they did, but they're still there. So you do the best you can. But what I learned was, man, if I had the internet then, if I had my cell phone then, can you imagine how much better it would be?
Oh, no, I know.
Yeah. So there you go.
All right. Friends, fans, and listeners, we'd like to extend a huge thank you to Ron Naples for being with us today and for recording our history in these two amazing memoirs. Ron, thank you so much.
You're welcome. I really enjoyed it. Thank you both.
Our pleasure. All right, folks, we at Written on the Edge are proud to introduce you to new media by queer content creators. If you enjoy learning about new artists or hearing our thoughts on entertainment media, please like and subscribe so you get the alerts for new episodes. Our show is produced by Rogue Ravens Media. For our links, our disclaimers, all that stuff, go to www.ropepodcast.com and tune in next week for your queer media fix.
Bye now.
Closing time. The bums rush in melody, dear.